Jill Duggar jailed for 2 years, DERICK DILLARD divorce. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. The Duggar family had been no stranger to public scandals, but what unfolded in 2025 shocked even their most devoted followers. News broke on a cold January morning. Jill Duggar Dillard sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for $1 million embezzlement case. For millions of people who had grown up watching 19 Kids and later counting on, this headline seemed unreal. Jill, the once soft-spoken, devout Duggar daughter, now stood at the center of a financial scandal that threatened not only her reputation but also her marriage to DERICK Dillard. The breaking point: Jill Michelle Duggar had always walked a complicated road. As one of Jim, Bob, and Michelle's 19 children, she had grown up under strict conservative rules. Modest clothing, no dating without supervision, no television outside of Christian shows, and absolute obedience to her parents. When Jill married DERICK Dillard in 2014, fans believed she had found a supportive partner. DERICK, though opinionated and at times controversial, seemed to care deeply for Jill's well-being. Together, they became parents, moved away from Arkansas, and began to carve out their own life. But independence came at a cost. For years, Jill had been at odds with her father, Jim Bob Duggar. She and DERICK spoke openly about how they were not fairly compensated for their time on the Duggar reality shows. According to DERICK, Jim Bob kept tight control over the contracts, pocketing millions while his children received little to nothing. Jill, once a dutiful daughter, slowly became a voice of resistance. In 2020, Jill and DERICK publicly distanced themselves from the Duggar family. They revealed struggles with financial stability, hinted at manipulation behind the scenes, and began therapy to cope with past trauma. Fans praised their bravery, but behind closed doors, the couple was drowning. The $1 million mistake. By late 2023, financial troubles had worsened. DERICK was practicing law, but student loans and legal bills piled up. Jill was trying to build income streams through social media sponsorships, book deals, and YouTube videos, but compared to the wealth Jim Bob had accumulated, it felt like crumbs. That was when temptation crept in. Investigators later revealed that Jill had access to a charitable foundation established years earlier in her name, the Jill Duggar Children's Fund. It had been set up by family supporters to provide aid for missionary work and children in need. Donations from fans around the world flowed into it, but records showed that between 2022 and 2024, over $1 million was withdrawn from the account, not for charity, but for personal use. The money allegedly went toward a new home, vacations, vehicles, and private expenses that had nothing to do with missions. When questioned, Jill broke down. She admitted that she had transferred money into her personal account in moments of desperation, but prosecutors argued it was no accident. They painted Jill as someone who had intentionally abused her platform, betraying donors' trust. The courtroom drama. The trial took place in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Every day, reporters lined up outside the courthouse. Fans and critics filled social media with hashtags, #FreeJill and #DuggarScandal. Inside, Jill appeared pale, thin, and visibly anxious. She wore modest dresses and no makeup, her once bright smile now replaced by a nervous frown. Sitting beside her, DERICK looked torn. Part loyal husband, part frustrated attorney who could not protect his wife from the consequences of her choices. The prosecution presented bank statements, testimony from donors, and financial experts who tracked the missing funds. Jill's defense team argued that she had been emotionally manipulated for years by her controlling family and that her financial missteps were cries for help rather than acts of greed. But the jury was not swayed. In December 2024, Jill was convicted of wire fraud and misuse of charitable funds. The judge sentenced her to 2 years in federal prison. Gasps filled the courtroom. Jill sobbed uncontrollably, clutching DERICK's hand as marshals led her away. DERICK's breaking point. DERICK had stood by Jill through many storms, family estrangement, media battles, and financial strain. But prison was something he never imagined. At first, he promised to wait for her, to raise their children until her release. But cracks soon appeared. Raising 3 boys alone, Working long hours as an attorney and visiting his wife in prison every month took its toll. Derick grew increasingly bitter, not only at Jill but at the Duggar family legacy that had pushed them into this mess. By mid-2025, rumors swirled that Derick was filing for divorce. He was spotted without his wedding ring. He unfollowed Jill's social media accounts, and tabloids reported that he had moved into a separate apartment. The Duggar family's reaction: the rest of the Duggar family was divided. Jim, Bob, and Michelle issued a carefully worded statement. "We love our daughter Jill and continue to pray for her every day. While we do not condone her actions, we believe in forgiveness and hope she finds redemption through God's grace." But behind closed doors, Jim Bob was furious. For years, he had feared that Jill's independence would bring shame to the family. Now, his worst fears had come true. Jessa Seawald, once close to Jill, posted nothing publicly. Friends claimed she was embarrassed and struggling to explain the situation to her own children. Jinger Vualo, living in California, spoke out more boldly. "My heart breaks for Jill, but I also know what it feels like to live under crushing expectations. I pray that she uses this time to heal, not just to be punished." Joanna and Austin Forsyth stayed silent. Josh Duggar, still serving his own prison sentence for unrelated crimes, reportedly told other inmates that his sister was finally getting a taste of what he went through. The Duggar name, once tied to purity and family values, was now linked to fraud, prison, and broken marriages, life behind bars. For Jill, prison was a nightmare. Gone were the days of being a reality star, missionary, or influencer. Now she wore an orange jumpsuit, slept in a cold bunk bed, and followed strict routines. Other inmates at first mocked her for being the reality TV Christian girl, but some grew sympathetic when they saw her genuine sadness. Jill spent hours reading the Bible, journaling, and crying. She often spoke about missing her children, about how deeply she regretted her choices. Yet, she also felt strangely free. For the first time in her life, she was away from Jim Bob's control, away from cameras, away from the weight of being a Duggar. She began to see prison as both punishment and refuge. The divorce bombshell.in October 2025, 10 months into Jill's sentence, Derick officially filed for divorce. Court papers cited irreconcilable differences and irreparable breakdown of trust. The announcement shattered Jill. She had clung to the hope that Derick would stand by her until her release. Instead, she now faced the possibility of losing her marriage on top of her freedom. Fans were torn. Some supported Derick, saying he had endured too much. Others blasted him for abandoning Jill at her lowest point. But Derick defended himself in a rare interview. "I love Jill, but love cannot survive without honesty and stability." Jessa Duggar called out by critics for Baby Edward's controversial nickname. Jessa Duggar is sharing an update on her new baby boy, Edward. But it doesn't seem like it's going quite the way she expected. When Jessa shared new photos of her son on Instagram on Sunday, she revealed the nickname that their family has taken to calling him. But some of her followers are convinced that she's already damaging his self-esteem at less than 2 months old. Jessa shared new photos of Edward. In her caption, Jessa shared that at just a month and a half old, Edward already weighs 15 pounds, leading to his nickname, Your Royal Fatness. "Can't believe it's been nearly a month and a half since Edward joined our family. He is the happiest, smelliest baby, and we can hardly remember what life was like before he was around," she wrote in her caption. The post included quite a bit of backlash against Jessa for the nickname. It seems like Jessa was expecting this would just be a sweet update on her baby boy, but people quickly took to the comments to share how inappropriate they found baby Edward's nickname. "Cutie pie, but don't call him a nickname like that, that might stick. Especially if your other kids hear it. Let's not start dragging his self-esteem down at an early age," one commenter wrote. Another said, "How could you call your baby that? He's healthy, and he clearly is going to be a large man. When you call someone fat, it affects all children, but especially your female children. Please don't use that." Others are already concerned for Edward's health, of course. It's impossible to know anything about Edward's health without being his mom or his pediatrician, but people still share their thoughts anyway. This little boy is 99% for weight and probably 98% for height. I would be nervous. Jessa looks like nothing phases her, which is good. But I would have a doctor monitoring that kid every 2 weeks, one commenter wrote, while another added, I wonder who he takes after because they are not big people or anybody in their family is big. He's a cutie pie, but I think I'd be a little concerned about his weight. Some fans are coming to Jess's defense. Alongside those who gushed over what a cute baby Edward is, which is undeniably true, obviously others were quick to come to Jess's defense for calling him your royal fatness, with some moms sharing their own nicknames for their babies. I can't believe all of the comments from so many sensitive people. My goodness. One of her followers said, I thought the royal fatness was super cute. I know it's a term of endearment, and I think it's a super cute and funny name.
No harm with that.
Ben Seawald killed Jessa. Ben Sewell married his new GF. The Duggar family, once known for their wholesome image and their oversized household in 19 kids and counting, had weathered storms before. But nothing prepared them, or the public, for the tragedy that unfolded with Jessa Duggar Seawald and her husband, Ben. This story begins like any other, with small fractures in a marriage, but it ends in devastation, scandal, and the shattering of trust. The Seawalds' downfall would become one of the darkest chapters in Duggar family history, cracks in the marriage. For years, Jessa and Ben presented a united front. Their marriage was portrayed as calm, godly, and filled with laughter. On Instagram, Jessa posted carefully edited reels of her children playing, family outings, and sweet captions about her husband. But behind closed doors, the Seawalds were struggling. Ben, now in his early 30s, felt trapped. He had married young, just 19, into one of America's most conservative families. Though he loved his children deeply, he resented the scrutiny and the Duggar expectations that clung to his identity. Jessa, on the other hand, remained rooted in her Duggar upbringing. She had grown up as one of Jim, Bob, and Michelle's most disciplined daughters, always ready with a smile and gentle words. But after years of managing a growing household, dealing with financial stress and the emotional baggage of her family's controversies, she too was stretched thin. Their arguments began small: money, chores, the pressures of raising 5 kids. But by 2024, friends noticed that Jessa's smile rarely reached her eyes. She seemed exhausted, a family insider recalled. Like she was holding everything together by a thread. Ben's secret affair. Around this time, Ben began confiding in a woman he had met through a local church event. Her name was Emily. She was younger than Jessa, vibrant, and not weighed down by the Duggar family's complicated legacy. What started as friendship soon turned into emotional intimacy. Ben told Emily about his struggles, his unhappiness, and his desire for a life outside the Duggar spotlight. Emily listened, offering sympathy and admiration, the very things he felt he no longer received at home. By late 2024, their relationship had turned physical. Ben lived a double life. At home, he played the role of dutiful father and husband, while in secret he pursued a love affair that gave him the sense of freedom he craved. Jessa, preoccupied with her children and household duties, noticed changes but struggled to accept the possibility of betrayal. Still, whispers reached her. One of the church members hinted about seeing Ben and Emily together late at night. When Jessa confronted him, Ben denied it. But the seed of suspicion had been planted. The breaking point: on a rainy evening in early 2025, the truth exploded. Jessa discovered text messages between Ben and Emily, filled with words of passion and longing. Her world collapsed in an instant. Years of loyalty, love, and sacrifice crumbled beneath the weight of betrayal. She confronted Ben in their kitchen, her voice trembling. "How could you do this? To me? To our kids?" Ben, cornered, lashed out. "You don't understand. I'm suffocating in this marriage. I never wanted this life. You only care about your image, about the Duggar name." The argument spiraled into chaos. Children huddled upstairs, listening to the raised voices. Hours later, the shouting turned into silence. The next morning, neighbors noticed police cars outside the Seawald home. The tragedy. According to official reports, Jessa was found unresponsive in the living room. She had suffered fatal injuries after what authorities described as a domestic altercation turned violent. Ben was arrested at the scene. The news sent shockwaves through Arkansas, then across the nation. Headlines blared: Ben Seawold arrested in wife's death. Duggar family silent. Reality star Jessa Duggar Seawold dead at 32. From courtship to catastrophe. The Seawold tragedy. The Duggar family, already accustomed to scandal due to Josh Duggar's imprisonment, now faced an unbearable blow. Michelle was reportedly inconsolable, sobbing to friends, "Not my Jessa, not my sweet girl." Jim Bob, always the stoic patriarch, issued a carefully worded statement asking for prayers and privacy. But behind closed doors, the family was shattered. The trial of Ben Seawold. Within weeks, Ben was formally charged with second-degree murder. Prosecutors alleged that he had snapped during an argument and fatally struck his wife. Courtrooms were packed with reporters, Duggar fans, and critics alike. Each day brought new revelations, text messages between Ben and Emily, witnesses testifying about the couple's rocky marriage, and evidence painting a picture of a man torn between duty and desire. Emily herself was called to testify. Duggar news. Jana's first pregnancy would rewrite Duggar family rules? Duggar news readers should know if Jana Duggar's baby news ultimately tore apart the family tradition. As an eldest daughter, she is ready to give birth to her first baby. Her husband Stephen came into her life during her teenage years. They soon became friends who had dated on and off before reconnecting in 2024 to get married. Jana broke the news on social media after people questioned when she would love to bring a new family member to the Wisman household. She hesitated at first to open up about the delay in pregnancy, but she was actually waiting for the right time. On the occasion of her first anniversary, she surprised everyone with her maternity photo shoot with Stephen. Knowing this, Jinger sends love to the new parents. Duggar news. Jana makes home changes with Stephen. Jana Duggar and Stephen Wisman gave a glimpse into their home decor, showcasing their happily ever after. The couple has a special bond that transcends that of a husband and wife. They quite flaunted it on Instagram with their update on their sweet life. Duggar News fans enjoyed watching both their short clips and longer YouTube videos. So, Jana recorded bits and pieces of Stephen choosing tiles from the market, putting them in his car, and sticking them to the walls. The reality star lent her hand to him. They lastly showed the final results, which impressed fans. She said that March was spent toiling around to make brick by brick of their house renovation. She wanted to create memories through a very aesthetic tile work for the tiny space they owned. Duggar news. Jana is clashing with family? Jana Duggar's first baby is due in January 2026, and she received best wishes from social media. But the news became a highlight for a single reason. Her timing might shatter the ongoing tradition of the Duggars. At 35, she started with her first pregnancy, whereas by now all her sisters had multiple children. The Duggars have set their standards high since TLC's day. Stephen, just like Jana, belongs to a large household with 13 siblings. The pair wed in the presence of 500 attendees on August 15, 2024. Her sisters Joy Anna, Jessa, Johanna, Jinger, Abby, and Jordan became bridesmaids. As she confirmed her pregnancy after a year, this is different from the norms of the Duggars. Duggar News followers are aware that the women in the family typically become pregnant within a couple of months of marriage. But Jana stood out, which means she made her decision on when to start expecting a baby with her husband. The entire Duggar lineage adhered to traditional and conservative values, including large families, early marriages, and young parenthood. Jana's decision to marry late in life is quite controversial among fans. She indirectly challenged the orthodox pattern that had run within her family for ages. She chose a diverse path, which made her appear different from the rest of her tribe. The media might keep bringing the topic to the surface, but she would reflect her inner self. For latest Duggar news, stay tuned to TV season and spoilers. Duggar news. Inside Jana Duggar's best purchase of $275 Nebraska starter home revealed. Jana Duggar's $275 fixer-upper pictures are online for the first time for Duggar News readers after announcing her first pregnancy with husband Stephen. She married a year ago, surprising fans with glimpses from the wedding day. The big news previously had her initially debunking the rumors of being pregnant. She was accused of hiding her baby bump, but it's untrue. Jana celebrated her first marriage anniversary on the exact day she announced her pregnancy to Steven. The couple tied the knot in August and also received the positive news about their baby in the same month. Jinger, her sister, gave them a wholesome reaction as they counted down the days for January 2026. Jana's new motherly look was breathtaking, and the entire Duggar family's hearts were full. Duggar news. Jana debuts glamorous hairstyle. Jana Duggar unveiled her stunning hair makeover while expecting her first child. She stepped into her game of leveling up her confidence with a cute smile and glow-up. Her face has a radiant shine that shows that she is a mommy-to-be. She recorded herself as she took her car's front seat outside a salon. Jana mentioned that her hairdresser would cut off a bit of her hair. She looked excited for the process because she hadn't done anything to her hair for almost a year. The Counting on Alum wanted to give her hair some life and a hue. The video showed the hairdresser covering her hair with foil paper. Fans were shocked to see the celeb's super short hair in natural ash blonde highlights, which she said is natural. Duggar news. Jana's fixer-upper gets photographed. Soon after Jana Duggar and Wisman confirmed their wedding in August 2024, they also revealed that they had moved from Arkansas to Nebraska. Their relocation plans prompted them to purchase their own investment property for $275,000. She called it a small space for them. Since they moved in, they have been busy fixing spots. At that time, Jana shared how she and Steven pulled each other to work, building their lives together in that house.
It's been fun, she said.
On her official YouTube channel, the duo documented their renovation work progress that fans loved watching. However, the photos of the fixer-upper, which leaked through Realtor.com, visibly showed the urgency of a proper upgrade. Jana and Steven began a complete kitchen remodeling first. Although the duo completed most tasks independently, it still took them a considerable amount of time. They seemed to exclude outsiders, such as professionals, from touch-ups or more in-depth work. One whole year was spent giving the house an aesthetic neutral finish, which is eye-catching. For Jana, moving out of his parents' home was an emotional decision. She made a significant change while Steven was handling the paperwork for the house he had bought in Nebraska. She admitted to calling her parents for help with the DIY craftwork inside the special house created with much love. At last, she stated, "I cannot wait to see this project come together in real life." Stay tuned to TV season and spoilers for further updates.